Mr. President, having you both with us today is a confirmation of the fact that you realize the importance of youth, African youth. A realization that you also prioritize African youth, and that you believe that if they succeed, we as a continent will succeed. We know that these young Africans, ambitious, hardworking, energetic, cannot succeed if the operating environment is not right. And our political leaders have the key to that situation. So we welcome you to this. We're happy you're here. On behalf of the young, enterprising, ambitious future leaders of Africa who are in this hall, and thousands who are watching online, and in fact millions across the world, I say on behalf of all of them and the Tony Elumelu Foundation, thank you for making time to be here with us. The floor is yours, Mr. President, and they have questions, but I'm sure you have a few remarks. And after that, they have questions. This is an opportunity to engage with the presidents, Kenya and Ghana. The floor is yours, sir.
First of all, let me say a very big thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Since I was elected president in Ghana nearly 20 months ago, I took office January 2017. You've come to visit me twice. And on the second
because you're a good president.
And on the second occasion, you invited me to come to this event. I agreed to come for reasons that I think it's important that I put out there. But just let me also say a big hello to the President of Kenya for allowing himself and I to share this platform together. Take very strongly the sentiments he expressed. But I think that the reasons why I accepted, come and spend the day here, part of the day here, are important to why this is so significant. First, we live on the richest continent in the world, and yet our people are the poorest. That is a contradiction that has to be resolved. People who live on the world's richest space are the poorest people in the world. The second, look at the history of the other countries and other continents. It's clear that strong market economies provide the best framework for development and for prosperity and for wealth creation. Yeah. So you put those two things together, and then you put a third aspect. We're told that 40 countries on the continent, the population of them, more than 50% of 40 countries in Africa, age group below the age of 25. That in fact, the median age, the average age of today's African is 19 years, 5 years. So that's it. It means that all these young people, they are the African people, are young people. So we put all these things together. And what does it mean? That the work you're doing here to encourage entrepreneurship, ingenuity, creativity, innovation amongst the young people, that is the future of our continent. No two ways about it. And I felt that with this objective and with these reasons that I have, I thought it would be a good idea to come here to support what you're doing and for the world to see that political leaders of this generation in Africa appreciate the work that you're doing. That's what has brought me here to Lagos today, to come and participate in this thing. That it is so key to our future. And I hear you saying it on television all the time. You are our future. It is the truth. You are our future.
Did you hear that? You are our future.
So then comes what governments can do to assist this process. I think the first thing is that they run their countries well. We so-called good governance. You run your countries well. You allow the institutions of your country to run efficiently. And the second thing, that you also run your economies well. You have an economy where there's macroeconomic stability, where inflation is low, interest rates are low, where the deficit is under control. Those are the building blocks for an economy that can grow. So that's our responsibility. Run our countries well and provide a framework for the macroeconomies of our countries to work well. And I think that we put those things together and encourage the ingenuity, encourage the sense of enterprise, sense of innovation amongst our young people. Then we are, as it were, squaring the circle. That's what I'm trying to do in Ghana. So since I came into office, we've established a Ministry of Business Development, which is running a program which it calls the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. Main objective of the ministry is to encourage as many startups amongst young people as possible. Ministry itself, under the entrepreneurship program, offers certain kinds of services, business advisory services, tries to promote access to credit. It has established also a fund, the enterprise, micro enterprise fund of some 100 million CD, which is using to support young entrepreneurs. They did a program which allowed them to identify 7,000 young entrepreneurs in Ghana who have been given the support to be able to develop and move. I think there's something else also that we should never forget. All of these countries that are developed countries with developed economies, small and medium scale enterprises are those that drive those economies. Small enterprises, medium-scale enterprises. Yes, you hear always the big corporations, the multinational corporations. But even in America, with these huge corporations, it is the small and medium-scale enterprises that are the real heart and basis of the economy. So that is what we also have to do, to promote small and medium-scale enterprises. I think we put all of those things together. We're then creating the opportunity for growth and for prosperity and wealth creation. I am strongly opposed to this image of Africa as a country with its hands out, begging for arms and begging for aid. We don't have to do that.
We really don't have
We don't have to do that. We have all the resources on this continent properly put together, properly managed, that can create prosperity for our people. We should be giving aid to other people, not people giving aid to us. I believe that strongly, that we can build that Africa so long as all of us are singing from the same hymn sheet and that we are together in this enterprise of promoting entrepreneurship. And that is why the work you're doing is so critical to the future of the continent. We have to encourage you and people like you along this path. That is how we're going to get out of our present state. So that's why I came here to Lagos, to add my voice to the work that you're doing and saying it's excellent.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So this is a vote for African entrepreneurs. Shall we clap for the president of Kenya? So let it go. So who is going to start? We'll have different rows. Shall we start from this row? Question, who is giving the question? What question do you have for the president of Ghana? And if we still have the president of Kenya on screen. So who will start? Let's start from, okay. Who's handling the microphone here? Who is Atinuke? Who is handling the microphone here? Give us your name, your business.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anofi and I'm Igwedinma. I'm an entrepreneur, a facilitator to I teach. Mostly I teach young people how to raise money for their businesses. I'm an entrepreneur too. I have a young company and we are trying to light up Africa. Reason, one of the mails we read from you, from your friend, Dr. Master Yu, he tells us about re-imaging Africa. What do we do to the villagers? If we focus on the cities, they are lineated. How do we focus on them? The mind is to see how do we come together and light up the villages. Anyone that does not have light up to 4 hours a day, 12 hours a day, is still in the village. You might be in VGC. You might be anywhere. You're still in the village. And my company can light them up. We partner with people that could do it, but we bring them forward and they project we, the young Africans. Now, if we have or approach a bank, UBA for example, they are going to ask for feasibility studies. And most of these young people, until they go through your mentorship, they can write a passable, approvable, credit-worthy feasibility studies. If this program, your mentorship program, could do it and make it broad, that would be good. Now, as a country, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, how do we get through to get through the feasibility studies and make our business not just bankable, but supportable? It's two-faced. How can a bank help us? And how can a state help us? Thank you. Once again, I'm Igwe Dinma.
What's your name?
Igwe. I'm Igwe Dinma.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. President, if you want to lead, then I'll fill out.
Well, I think that perhaps some of the things I said at the beginning is an answer to the question that you posed. What can the state do? What can be done to help? In Ghana, the way we have gone about it, as I said, is establishing this National Entrepreneurship Innovation Program. The purpose of which is, on the one side, to offer certain kinds of services to start up businesses, and on the other, to facilitate the access of businesses to credit. So you've got the National Entrepreneurship Program that has as its focus providing business advisory services, providing access to affordable credit, and also leading the way to finding access to markets for the various entrepreneurs and their products. We have also established a micro enterprise fund that helps in startups. It's also got links to the banks to be able to provide affordable credit. So those are, obviously, there are fiscal incentives too that the government is offering for new businesses, especially those that are located in the rural areas and outside the town, so that you can get specific fiscal packages, exemption from duty for the import of machinery and plant, exemption from corporate income tax for a certain period, 5 years, 10 years, depending on where you are allocated. This is the bundle of things that is being done to encourage young businesses and businesses as your talk.
Very. That's good. That's good. Igwe, right? You want to know what the banks are also doing I'll speak for United Bank for Africa, where I'm involved as the chairman of EBA. No, the CEO is here. But a couple of things. First, as a person, the Tony Elumelu Foundation is helping to do what we're doing today. In addition, soon we're going to be launching the entrepreneurship TEF Connect. That TEF Connect, you will see the possibilities of how you can help bring yourselves, policymakers, markets, and also funding partners together. For specifically, UBA has a vibrant small and medium enterprises desk. UBA is actually known as UBA Entrepreneurs, UBA, the Bank for Entrepreneurs in Africa. And recently, through the partnership with the French Development Agency, UBA is providing support for young African entrepreneurs. And French Development Agency has guaranteed 70% of the risk. So actually the risk UBA is carrying is just 30%. Some of these initiatives are being put in place to support people like you and other budding African entrepreneurs. And finally, UBA Foundation also supports entrepreneurs. Thank you. So, here, who has a microphone here? Okay.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. I'm Mr. Tony Elumelu. My name is Daniel Bamigbayan, and I run DPI Innovations. We drive inclusive ICT education, and as well, we write software to enable businesses. We've established a fact today, which you have always talked about, and it's the fact that Africapitalism holds a very important role in ensuring that Africa has a real inclusive growth and development. But it's important, in fact, I'm excited to see the Ghanaian president here because I once stumbled on one of his videos where he was speaking with the French president, and I saw him on the need for Africa to begin to lead growth even in the world. And I really appreciate that depth of ownership you've owned about capitalism. But it's important. There are a number of us in here, and we've heard the concept of Africapitalism and how we can help Africa develop. But sir, what strategy will you adopt to ensure that other leaders all around Africa can hone this concept and begin to drive youth entrepreneurship and job creation in Africa? Thank you very much, sir.
Well, I think change comes from mobilization, from agitation, from people insisting that this is the way they want things to be done. Nothing is changed or developed on its own. It never happens that way. People have to get up, speak, form groups, movements, discussions, and change the dialogue in their respective country. That is what has to be done. That has to be done here in Nigeria, has to be done in my own country of Ghana, has to be done across the world. Those who want the change have to go out and strive for it. I'm not talking about taking up guns. I'm talking about changing the discourse in our countries so the leaders then begin to focus on what the majority of our population want. And the majority of our population is young. So therefore, the fixation of leaders, the focus of leaders, the concentration of leaders have to be on the things that we need to do to get young people going. I'll give you one small example of something that took place in Ghana, which originally when I saw it was very disturbing. But at the same time, I see it as an opportunity. A survey was conducted by the Ministry of Business Development, together with the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Educational Service, at schools selected secondary schools in Ghana. The question that was posed was, how many of you, when you leave here, want to be business owners? The figure came out as 2% of those who were polled gave the answer that they wanted to be business owners. Contrast that with the figure of 70% in America. When the same survey was conducted in American schools, 7 out of 10 young Americans said they want to be business owners. So that is the nature of the challenge for all of us. The changing of the mindset, the changing of the culture, the changing of the attitude that will then impel us to go down the line of entrepreneurial development. The young people, you have everything to do to bring about that change. It's important that that change is effective. Thank you.
Well done. Let's come this way. We'll go around all the. Let's come this way. Who has a microphone here?
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies and Mr. Tony Elumelu. My name is Cindy Adem. I am a Kenyan entrepreneur, 2018. I am a woman in tech setting up digital hubs in remote areas in Kenya. Now, my question is, across Africa, apart from countries like Ghana and Kenya, which have programs that support Tony Elumelu Entrepreneurship Program, what could other countries do to extend that support to their young entrepreneurs in support of programs like this that have shown that they have a reliable platform to push entrepreneurship as an avenue for economic development in their countries? Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, so I think the president of Ghana has actually answered this. It's all about us pushing for the kind of change that will help catalyze our young African entrepreneurs. And also the philosophy of African capitalism, all our private sector or successful private sector leaders who realize that success did not just come to them that way, that at some point all of us, including myself standing before you, had some platform that gave us helping hand. And realizing that, President of Ghana, when we were waiting, he asked me a question. He said, what is the motivation for what you're doing? And I said to the president, I said 2 things. One is my own story, my own life, okay? And trying to democratize the luck that I had so that ultimately what becomes important is not who you know, where you come from, whose child you are, but the ideas that you have. And I said, secondly, Mr. President, we all struggle in life. Those who work with me who know me know how also hard we work. But I said, Mr. President, ultimately, all the struggle and pursuits and everything we have, when we die, what do we die with? And so at some point, you also start thinking about legacy. And you also start realizing that my parents did not leave houses for me, they did not leave bank shares or company shares for me. So what I owe my children is education, and they are here listening, education and fairly decent living. The rest, as much as possible, let's use it to create wealth across board. And that wealth creation across board is what we're doing through the Tony Elumelu Foundation. I am always quick to say that we don't do this because we have so much. Actually, we prioritize and make sacrifices here and there for this to happen. But it gives us significant joy to see things like this happening because poverty anywhere is a threat to all of us everywhere. And the more prosperity we have around us, the better for everyone. In the 21st century, as I said, and concerned with the philosophy of African capitalism, It's about shared prosperity and not just how much money we have in our bank account. So we need to mobilize not just government, but both private sector and government, and that's why advocacy is key. That's why we're happy that something like this is happening in Africa and that people are watching. I'm sure millions of people are watching so that people can be touched to also commit a part of what they have in helping to uplift others. Over 300,000 people applied, and we have just selected 4,000 people. I mean, we're not creating hope. So until all of us, that's why I said, the more we do, the more the need to do more manifests. So all of us have a responsibility to play. Government play their own, and the private sector play their own. Nations that prioritize their youth succeed. And it's obvious, listen to the president of Kenya, listen to the president of Ghana, that they do prioritize their youth. And so we need to all collectively compel, ask, plead, prod, preach, cajole other leaders to do the same, because therein lies this future for Africa. Okay, so let's take comments from here. So taking here. Yeah. Okay.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. I'm Mr. Tony Elumelu. Your Excellency, I'm a very religious fellow.
Your name, please?
I'm Joshua Okori from Nigeria. I run the ST class. The ST class is the first open expert model, AI powered CAL. That means anybody can teach from any part of the world. And our learners don't need internet to connect to that person. My question is on Africa Beyond Age. Because the first time I got interested about you was because of Africa Beyond Age. But
that powerful speech, eh? You
yes.
watch him with his counterpart.
Yes, but how practical is Africa Beyond Age? Looking at the recent $60 billion loan from China to Africa, are you concerned that the Africa Beyond Age agenda might have been betrayed, looking at the rising Africa debt profile that is unattended? And but then I had this question. But then when you came to talk about Africa Beyond Age, because I was like, did President Akufo betray us? But when you came back and still talk about Africa Beyond Age today, I wanted, like, if you could explain more to us what you mean by Ghana Beyond Age, the way, using your word, the way you used to talk about it. Thank you very much, sir.
Just some simple facts. Up till today, the education budget in my country, 30% of it is funded by grants from foreign donors. The same with the health budget of Ghana. Listen carefully to the figures. 30% of our education budget to keep our schools, our universities, our technical, vocational, educational institutions running is funded by foreign donors. The same with our health system. What I'm talking about is we have to work ourselves into a situation where we can fund those things ourselves. Borrowing money is not aid. What President Xi Jinping offered is a 60 billion fund which African countries can access, not as aid, but as loans. If you can produce a project that the Chinese think is worth supporting, you can have access to that money, but you have to pay it back. We will borrow money. Everybody borrows money. The United States of America is one of the biggest debtors in the world.
That's why we're in business.
Yeah, everybody borrows money. So borrowing money is not necessarily a betrayal of the concept of independence. No. The key for us in borrowing money is that we borrow money to create assets that would allow us to pay the money back. That's the key. Not to borrow the money and get involved with inflated contracts, misapplied not properly thought out contracts and burden ourselves so that one day we can't pay back. If we borrow the money and use it properly, it's an asset for us in expanding our economy, expanding our infrastructure. People want to invest in the development of railway in Nigeria. That's not dependence. That's investing in your infrastructure. And what it will do to promote business in Nigeria is the way you pay it back. There's no contradiction at all in supporting what the Chinese did and continuing to say that we have to stand on our own 2 feet to develop our country. No contradiction whatsoever.
I agree. Anyone this way? Okay, so let's continue. Of us, let's take question. Where? Exactly. Who has a microphone here? Who has a microphone here? Can you give the microphone? Okay. Oh, you have.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency.
Good afternoon.
And Mr. Tony Lumelu. My name is Valerio Thompson Boko, a 2017 TEF entrepreneur from Equatorial Guinea.
Equatorial Guinea.
Yes, sir. And my dedication is a filmmaker. I run the Center for Entrepreneurship, Vocational Skills, and Professionalism, where we train, mentor, and empower the youth so that they can be able to create a future for themselves. And I've been running a Pan-African documentary series. I've been going to various countries, covering the stories of the girl child in a way they can be able to inspire and motivate other girls around the continent. And my question goes, sir, I would like to know if African presidents and policymakers can ease a cost of intracontinental travel logistics. And also, what are your plans to move goods across borders to promote Pan-African trade and business linkages? Thank you very much.
To you, sir, I can hardly support.
So many of those decisions are not just decisions for government. They're also decisions for the private sectors of our country. Transportation costs across the continent.
No, sir, it's talking of so when you create economic unions, one of the reasons for creating economic unions is of movement of people, goods, and finance. He's saying that when it comes to ease of transportation, movement of people from one to the other, that is very tedious, difficult. I imagine he's talking...
Because it's an infrastructure matter.
Okay, is it from infrastructure perspective or from policy? Okay, let you talk about policy, I talk about infrastructure.
Well, the policy is there. The document is saying for instance, ECOWAS has committed itself to a regional community which encourages the free movement of goods, services, and of people. But in fact, there are many parts of ECOWAS where that is not being done for domestic reasons. And you know what I'm talking about.
It's Freedom Square, sir.
So comes the question of, to what extent is the commitment to the idea genuine? Because if it isn't genuine, no amount of words is going to make any difference. But it is the nature of the commitment to the idea of free movement, goods and services that really matters.
So I think the other point is traveling intra-Africa from private sector perspective. What is the private sector doing to ease or alleviate that? The private sector intervention is usually driven by economic interest, unless you're an African capitalist. However, I think we need to create regional airlines in the first instance, and also connect our major cities by rail. Unfortunately, in the colonial era, the kind of rail system we had was structured to transport raw materials to the ports where they were necessary, not necessarily for movement of people. They were more for movement of goods. So in the 21st century, we all need to work hard to make this happen. But we need government incentives. Private incentives shape behavior. So if we have the right government incentives, I'm sure there'll be airline operators that would like to go regional. I think it's happening. I know before it used to be more difficult than it is today, but hopefully, progressively, this issue of intra-Africa travel will be alleviated. I have colleagues, because we do business in over 20 African countries, and I have colleagues who spend 8 hours traveling from point A to B that ordinarily should take not less than 1.5 hours. That is bad for human capital, for even economic development and GDP growth for countries. We need to collectively address this problem. We put it on advocacy to tell people, friends, and business partners who are interested in the transportation sector to do something, but government should use incentives to attract more investors in that area, sir. You know, if you had like tax holidays, the BASA agreements, if they can be opened up, I believe some companies might be interested. In Nigeria, we wanted to partner with Virgin in 2005-06. We lost over $200 million. So we know how that sector can be stifling if there's no support of government. Then Virgin was going to operate in Virgin Nigeria, what was called intra-Nigeria and also intra-Africa. But getting even flying BASA, I think, bilateral agreements can be very difficult to get. So, good point. The world is listening and watching. Hopefully, solution will come from this. Yes. Lady in white skirt. Oh, someone. Okay, go ahead.
Hello. Good afternoon, Mr. Tony Elumelu and His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo. My name is Stephen Selassie Esio, and I'm from Ghana, and I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur with the 2018.
Say your name again. Let President hear your name.
My name is Stephen Selassie Esio from Ghana, and I'm
that sounds like Emperor Selassie.
I'm privileged to be a beneficiary of your program this year, sir.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you, sir. His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, we are very much aware that you are the SDGs co-chair for the Sustainable Development Goals at the United Nations level. And sir, we want to use this opportunity to find out how can we relate the SDGs to the achievement of economic empowerment and development on the continent. Knowing very well that initiatives like NEIP have been put in place, we want to find out how can we direct these initiatives to actually make us entrepreneurs conscious of the SDGs and how they can transform Africa as the Africa capitalism policy is. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Come and shake hands with your president.
I think that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
With your flag. Wait, let me join you. Wait, let me join. I like that email.
No, getting the SDGs and the private sector together so that we can find a way of establishing synergy between what the UN is trying to do and the private sector. I think that is one of the major challenges that we face. We've started by creating a fora in Ghana to want to export in the rest of Africa. But there's constant dialogue between the two, so that issues of finance, issues of how the SDGs can be factored into the activities of enterprises and of businesses can be made real and effective, because that has to be a major source of ensuring the success of the SDGs. I want to use this opportunity because at the end of the day, the people of Ghana will not understand why I spent the whole day here. To be able to say that I'm really very grateful to you once again for the opportunity to come and share this platform and these ideas with so many of you. And just to end up by saying that the statement that Mr. Elumelu makes to all of you is literally true. You have to take it as the truth, the simple truth. The future of our continent is in your hands. Thank you, and may God bless you all. Thank you very much indeed.
Can we have Folari and Pameda quickly? Let's do the launch now. May I call on the governors of Kebbi and